Happy Tuesday, Broncos country. We're back with another episode of just about everything coming at you from the Let's Talk Broncos podcast. I'm Bree Maestas, joined by Zach Seegers and Joey Richards. Guys, how are you?
Doing really good. Had some interesting convos on Twitter. I watched a little bit the USA soccer game. That was very exciting. I felt like very dramatic ending. It felt like USA was in prevent defense for the entire second half, which was something like it's kind of scary a little bit.
So much anxiety.
Oh my gosh. They were just like, I don't know, like they completely took their pedal off or their foot off the pedal there and then just sat back and played prevent. But they ended up getting the W, so I'm excited about that. All in all, I had a really good day. Zach, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Enjoyed that U.S. game. Glad they're advancing to the next round. Though, if I'm being honest, I think Netherlands going to absolutely crush them. But hey, let's hold the faith. I believe that we can win, all that good stuff. Just excited to be here talking with you guys. I think we've got a really fun show planned today. You know, we always love doing the show for the listeners, but sometimes it's like, oh man, that was a rough Broncos game. This one's gonna suck. I think we've got a fun topic, a fun little game, and I'm excited.
You're on mute.
Oh, I said I wanted to say feel free to vent away. If you want to continue to talk about Sunday's game, you're able to join the chat by searching Mile High Sports over on YouTube or Facebook so you can chat along with us and discuss all the topics from today. The link should be in the thread of Twitter if you're watching over there, but if you're already on Facebook and YouTube, start dropping those comments. Zach Seeger says, ask questions live. Yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. So if you have mailbag questions for us today, we can go ahead and do that as well. Alessandro Rhymes over on YouTube said John Elway should be the first one on this list. And if you're wondering what we're talking about, I think we have a fantastic segment coming up for you guys here in just a bit. I'm going to jump into some questions. Alessandro, we will be sure to include you when we get to that point. Again, I want to remind anyone watching, please hop over and start interacting with us. We love to answer questions live on the show. Zach, do you think we should start with that question first? I don't know. It's kind of a long one. I like Frankie's. I want to do Frankie's first.
Yeah, we might want to knock out some other ones.
Let's get warmed up first. Frankie's Film over on Twitter, a friend of the show, Frankie Abbott asks, what's your favorite sports movie of all time?
Okay. Can I cheat? Am I allowed to cheat? Am I allowed to do like a TV?
I think you got to do movie. I think the question's asking for movie. I think we got to save TV for a different time.
I'm not even like the biggest sports movie guy is the thing.
Neither am I. I don't think you can cheat. I don't think you can cheat.
No, I feel like I can. But, I don't know. You guys go first. Let me sit here and think about this real quick.
We'll go with I would go with Remember the Titans. I watched that a lot as a kid for whatever reason. Just had the DVD, and it was solid. I enjoyed it a lot. Good, solid football movie.
I love that you just randomly watched it, and I obviously kind of grew up watching that. I think it's a tremendous movie. Remember the Titans would be really, really high up on my list of all-time favorites. Someone once told me that White Man Can't Jump was their favorite sports movie of all time, and I mean, it's a good movie. I don't think it's the best sports movie of all time.
The LeBron James Space Jam.
No, it would be the original Space Jam. Come on now. That's really hard for me. As someone who really likes The Water Boy, but it's a comedy and completely off the cuff and not even really that great, but I would have to go Remember the Titans just because it is so impactful for everything that I've ever watched. Okay. I love the soundtrack too.
Since I'm cheating, I'm going with the TV show. I like all the 30 for 30 documentaries. I like real life guys. I don't know what we're doing all the time. We were talking about this last time. Do you guys remember who in the chat has watched a bunch of the 30 for 30s? Who's done that? The Miami ones are so fun to watch because those teams were so good. And Zach and I were talking about that the other day. Remember the Titans is good. I don't know what else I would consider even.
Go with your show. I didn't mean
Well,
to
I'm
shoot
going
him.
with the Miami one then.
What about the Mighty Ducks? Like, that
like
is such a
Mighty
good
Ducks.
movie.
Mighty
Like, those are
Ducks.
bingeable movies. Did you just say you hate the Mighty Ducks?
I would never say such a thing.
It
Ooh,
kind of sounded like that's what you were saying.
what about the U.S. hockey one, Miracle? That's a pretty good movie.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Same here.
Well,
Cow.
that's just how it works. Mike Massey over on Twitter wants to know, will they ever be fun to watch again? I assume he's referencing the Broncos since this is the Let's Talk Broncos podcast. Zach, I think this is right up your alley.
Yeah, sure thing. I've actually written a pretty lengthy Twitter thread on this. I'm going to probably write an article on it eventually. It just seems a little redundant to write it immediately after the Over the Cap article, but probably write it at the start of free agency, refresh everyone. Yeah, the sooner they get off Russell Wilson, the sooner they will be fun. I strongly believe that. Get it over with. 2024 is an awesome young rookie class. You've got the North Carolina kid whose name escapes me right now. You've got Caleb Williams, who looks like a freak. Like Caleb Williams comp, I think, is Patrick Mahomes, and the North Carolina's comp, kids comp, is Justin Herbert. And then there's more outside of those guys. It is a really exciting class, and I think the Broncos will be bad enough to be fun guys. They're gonna finally do it the right way. Draft a quarterback high. This is the way you're supposed to do it. It's going to be great. If they move off Russell Wilson, they should do it. In 2024, they have draft picks, Todd Mackey. In 2024, they have draft picks. And they are going to be bad in 2023, whether they do the smart thing and cut Russell Wilson or keep him. It's just, do you want to be expensive bad or cheap bad? And I'll take cheap bad.
Yeah, you got to think they'll be good one day, like like one of these days. I think, but I do. If you want to go back and look at the tweets, I have one from like 3 years ago saying one day the Broncos will have a quarterback. That one day hasn't it hasn't been here. But you got, I think one of these days they'll be good. It's just like it could take a while. I think it more than likely is going to take a little bit. Like Zach said, that 2024 quarterback class does look really good. Those two guys you mentioned, a lot of people like Quinn Ewers out of Texas. There are some quarterbacks in that draft class for sure. So keep an eye out for 2024. And then, it would just be exciting to have, even if the Broncos weren't like amazing, if we had like a young quarterback that we all had a bunch of faith in, that would be really fun too. So 2024.
A lot of faith in a young quarterback with enough patience to get us through an entire season sounds like a heck of a good time. Guys, I think that it might be my fault. And I haven't been 100% honest with Broncos country because I have had season tickets now for 7 years. Since Peyton Manning has moved on, I've been going to the games religiously, and I'm starting to feel like I'm never going to be happy again. Like, I would like to watch some good football. I'm really tired of it too. And I think coming from a fan perspective on this one, is I'm hoping that it's more fun sooner rather than later. There was a lot of hope and the expectations were a little too high given what we wanted to see out of this team after a long drought of nothingness, and it just went in the absolutely wrong direction. I believe somebody yesterday said rock bottom, and I was almost unwilling to go there with that, but I think I'm willing to admit that's where we are now. Hopefully that means anywhere but up, but I do think that there is a concrete floor that could break through. I'm a little worried about that, but I do hope the Broncos will be fun to watch sometime again soon.
Yeah, one of these days, guys.
One of these days.
It'll make this is how everyone needs to cope. You need to be one of those fans that'll be like, but it'll be so rewarding when they're actually good. Like you were there through the hard times. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think Broncos country needs to rally behind that right now. That would be my words of advice.
Here'd be my little sign of optimism for you guys. And I don't think they can have as fast a turnaround, but you can have fast turnarounds in the NFL. The Eagles totally whiffed on the Carson Wentz contract, ate a ton of dead cap, and couldn't field an NFL roster. Straight up couldn't field one because of how much dead cap they had. The salary in total disarray. 2 years later, they're one of the Super Bowl favorites. Like things can turn around in a hurry. Atlanta Falcons, that's probably a more realistic model for Broncos fans to look at. Saddled with tons of dead cap when Terry Fontenot took over that team. And they're doing this long form rebuild. But now you look at them, they've got an exciting coach who's doing really cool offensive stuff. They've got a lot of young offensive talent for them to be excited about going forward. And when they draft a quarterback high in 2023, that quarterback's going to be placed into a great situation. And you're going to feel really optimistic about the Atlanta Falcons' future. So that's where I think the Broncos can be. From like the Falcons were 2020 was the start of their misery. It might be a couple years, but I think if they do it right, they can set themselves up for a promising future.
Troy Sandoval says, if you're a Kansas City fan, they are fun to watch. Ouch. That hurts. It's true. I think if you're a fan of any other team in the AFC West, you're laughing right along with this comment here. It's true, but it hurts quite a bit. I saw something else here. Robert Armstrong said, my dad and I go every time they come to Tennessee, and we always lose. And yes, I feel like we were at rock bottom with no hope of being fun. I hear you there. Last one, real quick. Todd Mackey says 30,000 no-shows will speak volumes. Even last season, it didn't get to that point. I think the lowest was 51,000, and it was a cold second week game. I'm not even sure. I can't remember, but I don't think I've seen attendance that low in quite some time. You guys think it gets to that point?
No,
I don't. I mean, we like, I don't know. I hope not, because our podcast is probably going down if it gets that bad. If everyone will lose interest that much, we're here. I don't know. Maybe I need to start giving you guys giving the fans more things to cope with. Maybe that's my new strategy.
Yeah, most tickets were sold not right now. They were sold forever ago when people were excited about Russell Wilson in the offense. And I don't think people want to not show up after spending that crazy investment on the game. They might sell their tickets, but the people that buy those tickets are then going to go to the game.
Yeah, and definitely for less than face value. We have a question from Wayne King over on Facebook. Do you feel Wilson has a hand injury that's causing his throwing issues? Maybe affected his grip or release on ball? Did we actually get damaged goods from the get-go? I think Wayne might be referencing his thumb injury from last season. I don't know if that's still plaguing him. We were told by Nathaniel Hackett that Russell Wilson is actually not dealing with any injuries at this present moment. Zach, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, conflicting reports on that. I mean, it's possible that Hackett's saying that so the Broncos can avoid an NFL investigation. It's all a cluster on that front. It's not good. I don't think it's the hand, though. You did see him struggle with that for part of the 2021 season, and then when it got healthy, he played a lot better down the stretch. Right now, what might be happening, real injury, real pain, as the report famously said with his hamstring. I think it's possible he's injured right now, and that's limiting him some. But again, I think that's a Russell Wilson problem. He demonstrated it in Seattle, right? He had this finger injury. Doctor said, hey, the fastest you can come back from this, Russ, is 6 weeks. And he didn't say Wolverine blood, but he said, oh, I'm superhuman. I heal faster or whatever. And came back in 3 weeks and was terrible for 3 weeks. And then, oh, look at that. 6 weeks after the injury, started playing good, but did hurt his team for 3 weeks for the sake of his vanity. So could that be happening right now? Totally. But I think it's still something to critique Russ for.
This is one of those rare situations where I hope he does have a little bit of an injury that he can recover from, because at the moment, if he doesn't, we're just seeing a quarterback that's not very good. If he has an injury and it's holding him back, maybe next year he looks better, So I kind of hope that that's the reason why he's performing badly. But like Zach said, kind of conflicting reports on what's going on there. The Broncos are saying no. So I don't know what to go with there. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I think because the coaching staff has come out and said no, he doesn't, it's only fair to judge him as if he doesn't have an injury, and that's how I'm doing it right now. But yeah, I think it is a possibility that he does.
All very fair. Today, news, Joey, you create a lot of traction on a post, quote tweeting about Scangarello being out at Kentucky. A lot of people thought the Broncos should stick with this coach. How do you feel about him being out at Kentucky? Some of the stuff that you're hearing, maybe what Broncos country is meaning by why they wanted him back so badly.
I think a lot of people, I mean, my brain still hurts thinking about the arguments I had about Scangarello. This was a long, drawn out argument of Scangarello would be the answer for Drew Lock. Did you see how he was doing under Scangarello compared to how he did the next year? That was pretty much the talk from Broncos country, and it's like, clearly, guys, they fired him for a reason, and he just got fired after Kentucky after a year. I don't think Scangarello was ever going to be the guy that made the Broncos offense this dynamic, amazing thing. I don't think he was the quarterback whisperer some people made him out to be. Continuity was the reason, and this is what bugged me about the whole argument all the time, was like, people would throw the word continuity out there because that is a positive word. Like, you do want continuity in the NFL. The issue is you don't want continuity with a coach that isn't getting it done. That's what you don't want. So you want, like, you would fire a coach if that guy's not good too, despite you wanting continuity if that guy's not good enough, because you don't want not good enough for a lot of years. Like, and that's just the answer at the end of the day. So yeah, he's out at Kentucky. I think they expected him to go down there and do a lot with that Kentucky offense, who was coming off a pretty good year last year. Well, it looks like Will Levis, who is a quarterback down there, is going to first-round quarterback. A lot of people like him as. He didn't really progress, and I don't think he showed a lot on the field for Kentucky fans to feel hopeful enough that he's their guy long-term, so they canned him. A lot similar to the Broncos situation, I think.
Yeah, the Scangarello thing's always exhausting to me. I think it's pretty obvious he wasn't a good offensive coordinator. Even if you, for whatever reason, loved the on-field product, which does not make sense to me. He was a problem behind the scenes. I think that's, I don't know, fairly well known that he was a problem behind the scenes with other coaches on that Broncos staff that were more valuable than him. So yeah, there was just no reason for him. But to Joey's point, we've all heard, oh my goodness, they had to keep him around. After the Broncos, he goes to be a senior offensive assistant with the Eagles. When they have their Carson Wentz meltdown and the offense completely falls apart and the coaching staff gets swept out, then he goes back to San Francisco to be a quarterback coach. Then he goes to Kentucky, and their offense takes a massive step back. Kentucky's offensive coordinator did such a good job, the Rams hired him to be their offensive coordinator. So Scangarello comes in, takes his spot, has Will Levis, this quarterback that's getting hyped up as a top 10 pick in the upcoming draft, and then Will Levis regresses under Rich Scangarello's watch. The Scangarello conversation should have never continued after his firing, but this should be the nail in the coffin.
It's done. It's done, Broncos country. We're ending the Scangarello talk here.
Joe, you're absolutely crazy if you think you're going to be able to single-handedly stop Broncos country from harping on one single detail over and over and over again, that until that person is no longer here, and then even then some. I think that's just the way of the world. It's the way of the fandom, and it is maddening. I think I understand your pain quite well there. I did want to shout out to David Zion over on Facebook, who's having a tremendous discussion over there. Due to time and the length of your comment, I'm not going to be able to highlight it, but I wanted to thank you for tuning in, corresponding with us, and then continue to engage in the discussion. Joey.
I do see something in there where he's talking about the Broncos receivers don't know how to run around off script and come back to the ball when Russ scrambles. I want to just add on to that real quick and just say also the ability of Russ scrambling has been an issue. I think he's taken a step back in that regard. A lot of people probably underestimated how big of a part of his game that was. So much of his game came off of broken plays, and he's not just making it. While the Broncos receivers aren't doing a fantastic job in those scenarios, he also isn't doing nearly as good as he was in Seattle, especially in his prime in Seattle, of making magic happen, where he's finding separation. He was making people miss back there. He was one of the best ever at that type of stuff, and we just have not seen that. A lot of the time, it's either led to inaccurate balls or him just taking sacks. We're only getting the downside of it. We're not getting much plus now because I think his legs aren't what they used to be.
Yeah, that escapability's declined. We saw it in 2021. Last year, Seahawks fans were talking about, oh my God, this is the worst line Russell Wilson has ever had to play behind in Seattle. And then he leaves and they immediately look the best they have in a decade on the offensive line. He comes here and all of a sudden Broncos fans are saying, oh my God, this is the worst offensive line he's ever had to play behind. Nope, his escapability is just diminishing.
I feel like also when he does become mobile and we're like, oh wow, he really moved there, it's at the wrong time. It's almost like can't really get with it. I've seen some scrambles that I just really didn't appreciate from Russell Wilson.
You know how we talk about Javonte Williams' ability to make bad plays look good because he's so elite at just breaking tackles? That's how Russ used to be at quarterback, where it was like, okay, he's scrambling, maybe when he shouldn't be, but he's so good at it that he's getting away with it. And it's just like when you decrease in your athletic ability, like that goes away. That magic that he used to produce just has gone away, and now we're only seeing the downside. We're not seeing as much of him making bad plays or bad decisions good. We're not seeing it.
They're not technically, hear me on this, Com. I'd say they're not like technically savvy players. They're like brute force players. And I'd even put that with Russell Wilson. He's winning with like just the brute force of his ability, because his ability was so great for so long. Just he can extend plays and account for the fact that he's not the quickest processor and he can't see large portions of the field. And listen to this is well known, like Nate Tice, who was his college backup and is now a very well-respected NFL analyst, has been talking about this for years since he was still playing elite football in Seattle. He's just able to make up for these deficiencies because he had such great ability. And I think now he doesn't have that ability and the deficiencies are showing, just like Javonte Williams. He's not the most technically savvy player. He doesn't have incredible vision and running instincts and the ability to find the hole, but oh my goodness, he is so wildly talented. It doesn't matter. He just creates extra yards out of nowhere. And so I love that comp.
I appreciate it, man.
Sorry guys, I was lagging there for a second, a little bit of an internet issue. Joey Richards asks over on Twitter this morning, this is a comment I was referring to earlier today that I thought, Joe, you could elaborate on, and Zach as well. To those who want to see Russ next year, before we rush to conclusions, and he elaborated more there with changes in the offseason and supporting cast and capital and any sort of head coaching changes, do you think enough can be fixed in a single offseason to get a true look at what the quarterback should actually look like, or what Russell Wilson's true potential is? My answer, and I'm just going to give it to you because it was short and sweet, is do I want it to get better? Sure. Do I think it's possible? Not really. Not with what we're seeing, and not to a level that is acceptable given the expectations that were placed on Russell Wilson and the trade to the Denver Broncos. Joe.
Yeah. So just adding on to this question, and hey guys, if you want to respond in the comments, go ahead as well. I posted on his Twitter and I got a ton of responses, which was cool to see. All different types of responses too, which I like to read. But it was pretty much just like, hey guys, like there are so many. I would almost say the majority of Broncos fans think that with most of the blame goes to injuries, offensive line, like player, like the talent, coaching, etc. Right? There's a lot of excuses. The injuries, all of it. But so can we fix that all in one offseason and get a true look of what Russell Wilson is if you do believe that he's a good quarterback? Me personally, it's hard for me to imagine him going from this low on the quarterback rankings to where he is right now this season to working his way back up into conversation to make it look like the trade was worth it. I think even if he turns into an average quarterback, that would be like really exciting for the Broncos, considering what he's done this year. And I do think that we are seeing the worst version of Russell Wilson because of that stuff. It's hard for me to imagine the Broncos are going to go into next season with a plethora of injuries, their talent not living up to expectation on offense, and the coaching staff just not working out whatsoever. All three of those. It's hard for me to imagine it. But do I think that it'll ever get to the point where I'm saying Russ can lead us to a Super Bowl, or Russ can Russ is the difference maker on this team? I personally don't think so. I just don't, and I guess I'm curious what the chat thinks about that. But Zach, what do you think about it?
No, I think you answered your question pretty well. I think it's not. I don't see how it's going to happen. And also, knowing Broncos country, I hate to say it, I love a lot of Broncos country, but my goodness, I've seen them with the quarterback discourse. Anything to excuse the quarterback's failures outside of the quarterback's play himself, they are going to jump on. We just talked about it with the Rich Scangarello thing, right? Drew Lock was good because instead of the god Rich Scangarello, he had Pat Shurmur. Like, I don't know. I think maybe it just wasn't there. I don't want to go through, and you're already seeing it with Russ. Oh, well, the supporting cast around him isn't very good. And while I agree, you are paying him Pat Mahomes money. And the Chiefs can get away with paying Pat Mahomes money because he makes everything around him look better. He's a superhero. When you're paying a quarterback or anyone that sort of money, they have to be a superhero and make everything around them considerably better because you have less money to invest in everything around them. So you can't have Russell Wilson be reliant on supporting cast talent. It's a tough question. I think it's set up for a lot of cheap excuses. It sets up well for tons of just like, oh, well, the receiver core is still young and developing. And it was Russ's first year in the offensive system. And that terrifies me because then you're looking at being stuck with this guy for 2025, 2026, and the Broncos buying into the sunk cost fallacy and just ruining the franchise for the next half decade on this obviously terrible trade. Just like eat your vegetables, move on is what I think they should do. But yeah, I don't think you'll get a true – I think you will get a true look because, yes, the supporting cast won't be fully in place. But because of what you're paying Russ, the supporting cast being fully in place, in my opinion, should be fairly irrelevant. So for me, you will have enough to have a true look. In my opinion, I think you've already had the true look.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I want to hit on – Wayne's comment here. He says we have to get too much with not enough resources. And I want to hit on that real quick because that is truly what I'm asking, right? Like with that question is, to me, I think to get the best out of Russ right now, you have to have a dominant running game. I think that's going to be the better run game you have, the better Russ you're going to see, right? And I really, really think that the Broncos are starting from ground zero. I think they're starting from bottom of the barrel right now. Like they don't have many pieces right now on the roster that make me think that they can contribute to a dominant run game.
A guard. They have
a guard. And that guard hasn't taken the steps in the right direction. A lot of it, I think, because Mike Munchak's departure. Frankie commented on that today, and I thought that was a great point. But I think people underestimate how difficult it is to build a really good offensive line. Those are 5 pieces that all are going to get paid really highly because they are guys that are so hard to find in today's NFL, especially at those tackle positions. And then not only that, to sustain a good offensive line is impossible. Guys are going to leave during free agency. Guys are going to retire. And then on top of that, to replace them, you're going to have to either pay new guys or draft well. And then there's 5 of them. It's hard to do. To get 5 really good starters up there. Then to go along with that, like we have Latavius Murray at running back right now. I don't think anyone wants Latavius Murray being the lead back next year. Javonte Williams is coming off that injury. His evaluation is just up in the air. I have no idea what to expect from Javonte Williams next year. So I think the Broncos have to plan accordingly. They probably want to get a guy they do feel comfortable being the lead back. So there's just a lot of moving pieces up there. I think it can get better, but getting a dominant run game in 1 year, which is like I said, is probably the best Russ you will see, is probably not very realistic.
Sorry, guys. I keep having trouble with my mouse not wanting to click on mute. We got breaking news in the chat that I missed, so sorry about that. It's now 5 minutes old. Broncos flexed out of the primetime game against the Chiefs. No longer a night game per Mike Kliss. It'll be instead within the 2 p.m. window. So that's about according to plan. I don't blame them for doing so.
No, it's a beautiful thing. I'm tired of the primetime games. I want my Broncos to lose in only Broncos country's eyes. It sucks when they lose on primetime. It makes it that much worse. And the Chiefs are a tough game. So I'm happy about it. I want it on my local TV. That's all.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I'm going to go to the last question we were asked on Twitter from Luke. Luke asked, if I had a fantasy football team and it was filled entirely with the current Broncos roster, how many points would I rack up each week? Zach, you went ahead and did some research today in order to answer this question. And I think we have a little bit to share here with Luke, as I like this question. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a little game for you guys. We're going to go over because honestly, it's pretty depressing what an All-Broncos fantasy football team would look like. And we'll get to kind of the answer to that question here at the end, but we'll make a little game out of it so it's a little less depressing, or maybe a little more. We'll start with Russell Wilson. Do you think Russell Wilson has scored more or less fantasy points this season than Andy Dalton? Andy Dalton entered the season as the backup quarterback for the Saints.
Yes,
if we remember.
He did. I'm trying to remember what week.
I feel like this is a trick question. I'm going to go less. I'm going less.
I feel like it has. Zach wouldn't be asking this. Zach is a well-known Russell Wilson hater. I don't think that he would ask this question if Russell Wilson was more. So I'm going less. I'm using my clues.
I had to pump fake you guys. Russell Wilson has slightly more. I still included it because I think it's a dig that it's only slightly more. Andy Dalton has 7 fewer fantasy points, and he has started. He didn't start the first 3 weeks of the season. So 2 less starts than Wilson, 7 fewer fantasy points.
Sheesh. That is not good. That's not good, guys. That's Andy Dalton. Like I understand fantasy football. Don't put stock into it. I'm not one of those fantasy guys whatsoever. I don't know what a dominator stat means. I don't follow all that type of crazy stuff, but I know that's probably not good. Like that's not good.
It's like the other stat that Russell Wilson has scored less touchdowns than Wentz, right? And Wentz hasn't played since, I don't even know, week 4 or something crazy like that.
That's another crazy stat, man.
Doesn't Jamal Williams have as many touchdowns as the Broncos this year? I think I read
more. I'm pretty sure he's more.
All right, keep them coming, Zach.
All right. Do you want to do a player or guess the number here?
Number.
Oh, actually, this is also a guess the player. Who do you think is the Denver Broncos' number 1 running back in terms of most fantasy points on the season?
What if it's still Javonte? That'd be great.
Zach just smiled a little bit. Javonte Williams.
I think. Okay, wait. Let me run through my options here. We got Javonte Williams. We got Mike Boone. We got Latavius Murray.
Actually, I'm going Melvin Gordon.
We also have Melvin Gordon. No, but those -2s during the fumbles.
Joey.
Those one hurt.
I'm going to send an expletive your way right now, live on the show.
I'm going with
Fumbles were
Javonte.
painful for,
I'm going with Javonte because of that one game where he had like 12 catches or whatever that was. That was ridiculous.
Nobody's yards per
Wait, are we
carry.
playing in a PPR league or what are we doing?
PPR. That's a good point, Joey. All these are for PPR.
I
I'm
just
going
assumed.
Javonte. Going Javonte.
It is, if you're doing it by total points, it is Melvin Gordon. If you're doing it by average, it's Latavius Murray. Melvin Gordon, 87.1 points on the season. That's averaging 8.7 a week in a Broncos uniform. Latavius Murray at 11.1 and then 66.3 over the 6 weeks he's been in Denver. Russell Wilson, because I forgot to say it, is at 135.6 fantasy points on the season, 13.6 a week, which is not good from a quarterback. Yeah, and then
That's crazy.
how about this? Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Is he over or under Melvin Gordon total points on the season?
Over.
Wait. Oh my God, I have him and he's kind of sucks. Like I don't. No, but I also have Melvin. I'm going Clyde over. I'm going Clyde over.
Wait, you had Melvin on your fantasy team?
I had Melvin and Clyde, so this one was like easy peasy. It's over.
You are such a double agent. We were just having this conversation.
I mean, I need depth. I can't have depth now.
All right. This one I think is good. Wide receiver one for the Denver Broncos, Courtland Sutton. I don't think that will surprise anyone, just because he's been healthy the whole season and everything. Mac Hollins, over or under Courtland Sutton? Breakout receiver for the Raiders. What was that, Joey?
Slightly under. That's my guess.
Like a 0.5, slightly under, or
Yeah, but I kind of want to change it. I'm going under. Going under. Lock it in. That's
Wayne
what it
King
is.
also says under.
Bree?
Yeah.
I said under. I said under first.
It is. I'm sorry, I missed it. It is Matt Collins. I thought that one would get you because he's been really productive this year. Collins a little down on. I was trying to make this tricky. Jerry Jeudy, Isaiah McKenzie, over under. Do you think Isaiah McKenzie has more fantasy points or less fantasy points than Jerry Jeudy?
Going slightly over.
I think you wouldn't pick this unless he was slightly over. So over.
Slightly over.
Dang it. I was hoping you guys would bet with my Judy
I
lock.
know you're
with my
trick
Judy
you.
No,
You are so crazy.
Judy, 93 points on the season, averaging 10.3 a game. Sutton, 127.3 on the season, 11.6 per game. All right. Who do we think is the Broncos fantasy tight end one? Because remember, Greg D has only played, 5-6 weeks?
He's still the leader there.
It can only be, it has to be Greg Dulcich.
No, it's Andrew
Greg
Beck.
Dulcich by a wide margin, honestly.
Yeah.
I know because he's on my team.
This one's not by total. This one's by average. Robert Tonyan, over under.
Over.
Tunyon's over.
Over. Go with over.
Tonyan.
Tonyan over Dulcich or Dulcich over Tonyan?
Tonyan over Dulcich.
Dulcich is over Tonyan. More fantasy points per week. That's pretty sweet.
What? That is pretty sweet.
It's nice when I get through that one out there for you.
Thank you.
Oh, this one. Okay, this one's a little hatery.
Wayne is nailing these, by the way, just so everyone's noticing. He's got
everyone go to Wayne for fantasy advice. On the flex.
Is it how many points the lock has? Because it's I believe it's 0.
This is the most. It is a 0. Similar to what he had last year through week 12 because he was running the bench.
Who has more points, Chase Edmonds through his Broncos tenure or Drew Lock?
Okay, so I actually almost went with Chase Edmonds for the flex because this is bad. The Broncos' best flex, if you do a normal fantasy lineup like we've gone through, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, one tight end. The best flex option is Kendall Hinton, who has 45 fantasy points on the season.
What?
They've played 11 games. That is 5.1 points a week, and he is their best flex option. Their best one. That's rough. That is rough.
Go
So
get.
with that in mind, and Joey, this is going to be a fun one for you because especially because you were hyping up the Christian McCaffrey thing so hard, how Kyle Shanahan uses Kyle Juszczyk. Does Kendall Hinton have more or less fantasy points than Kyle Juszczyk this season?
Wait, who is this? Who did you say Kyle Juszczyk compared to who?
Kendall Hinton. Flex.
Ooh.
And Kendall Hinton has 45.5 fantasy points. Over for Juszczyk or over?
I'm going
over
under
for Hinton.
Juszczyk, although Juszczyk is like a very valuable piece.
You're right. Juszczyk is under. I was hoping it would trick because he's a good fullback. Maybe I should be pausing to build up some dramatic suspense.
Juszczyk?
Yes, it does go to Hinton. But still, man, 5.1 points for the best flex is rough.
I think I have to check you real quick back before. Juszczyk is not just a fullback, and I'm kind of slightly offended you said that.
Offensive weapon.
He is a tight end when they need him to play tight end. When they need him to be their pass blocking running back, they want to get in shotgun. It might be a 3rd and long. They know they're pinning their ears back. Juszczyk's in there. Juszczyk is everywhere. We might even split him out to wide receiver sometimes. Juszczyk is a problem.
And then with defense, and I agree, Joey. Defense, special teams, I won't make you guys guess those ones because I don't have great ones there. Broncos have 6.3 points per game, 69 overall as a defense. And then McManus is at 7.3 points per week and 80 overall. Okay, let's do some good old-fashioned number guessing. How many points? If we were to tally up all the averages of this best case starting fantasy lineup, what do you think this Broncos dream team averages on a per week basis in fantasy?
87 points.
I'm going under that. I'm going to go 70.
I think Bree's closer, 82.6.
Dang, Bree, with the W. All right.
82.6 points a week. If anyone in a PPR league knows that's terrible, you got to be getting over 90. At 82.6 a week, you are probably winless in your fantasy league. But here's the thing. That was off of all their averages, and these guys have missed time. They haven't, like Latavius Murray hasn't started all those games for the Broncos or whatever. So really, if you look at how many points they've produced on the season, which is 752.2, and in fantasy, you've played 12 matches so far because you don't get a bye week. You play all 12. The Broncos would be averaging 62.7 points per week as a all Broncos fantasy team. 62.7. Even if you want to give them the benefit of their bye week, it's 68.4 points per week for this crew. So that is
it's rough out here. It's rough out here. Yeah. Not a lot to root for, not even your fantasy teams. The Broncos helping you with right now.
I just want to give a shout out. Thank you so much, Luke, for your question. We really appreciate you interacting with the show. And if you would like an entire segment based on you, start submitting questions to Let's Talk Broncos. That was a ton of fun. Zach, thanks for doing that for us. Joey, had a fun time, but I beat you. Sucks to suck.
First time for everything, Bree. Good job.
I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, but you are able to still send them in here. Well, I get a quick message in here from our sponsor, Signables. Guys, if you haven't done so already, you're running out of time because it's just around the corner. Christmas is coming up soon. You're going to want to get those stocking stuffers ready. And LTB listeners, we want to tell you a little bit about Signables, which are a cool new way to display your fanhood in your office, home, or fan cave. Signables are flat footballs with digitally printed signatures on them of your favorite players, including Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, all of them, and soccer. World Cup is happening right now. Get in it. Get on it now. They're a great gift for your favorite football fan this holiday season. You can collect your favorite player or your favorite team by going to check them out on signables.com.
They also
go ahead, Zach.
One thing I'm seeing right now on Signables too, it looks like they might have a mystery box. So you can order the mystery box, get surprised, get a Christian Pulisic one, celebrate him advancing the United States past Iran today. Yeah,
It's just 11 Russell Wilsons.
Yeah. Get 11 Russell Wilsons and line them up in imaginary football formations and play imaginary football games with them.
Partridge in a pear tree.
Entertainment for hours.
You know which I need to talk to the signables people. You know what would be a really popular one? The Von Miller signables would go crazy.
They got to get on that.
I know. We're gonna have to talk to him about it. But close to that, the Joe Burrow signables is probably my favorite one. I would go with Joe Burrow if I were you. That's a good one to get.
Yeah, it's signables. I'll just say this. They say money can't buy happiness, and that's not true because it can buy you signables.
Yeah.
Wayne King said in the oven so he could cook. Is that where you're putting your signable, Wayne? I mean, do whatever you want when you get it. That's on you, my dude. Gentlemen, it's time for Joey's question of the day.
Joey's question of the day. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay. If you guys could add one defensive player around the league to this Broncos defense, just to make it even that much more fun, who would it be?
Anyone from around the league?
Anybody. You just, whatever comes to your mind first. It doesn't have to be yeah. Who do we want to start with? Zach, we'll go with you.
Can you ask the questions again? Sorry, I was being snarky.
Wow. Yeah, does everyone see this? Joey's question of the day, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. Zach's not even paying attention. If you could add one defensive player around the league to make this defense even more fun than it already is, who would that be?
Okay, I think the answer from a true football perspective is Micah Parsons, but
I said fun.
I think it'd be very fun to see him on that pass rush and all the creative things Ejiro Evero could do with him. But I don't think it's fun to root for someone who's engaged in the hazing incidents that he has. Anyone can Google it if they want. So I think I'm going to go I would love another – I'll go AJ Terrell. I think he's another great young corner. Actually, I'm going to go a little off the ball. I'm going to go Tariq Woolen. Cal is on the same page as me. I'm going to go Tariq Woolen. Young, it's a weird gamble. I like seeing these young guys grow and develop. He is a wildly freaky athlete, and he totally looks the part. I think he's going to be a good cornerback in the NFL for a long time to come. And I think just pairing Patrick Surtain with another insane corner, and AJ Terrell is a realistic one because he's all set. Jair Alexander would be another fun one, but just having two true lockdown cornerbacks and then seeing all the crazy stuff you could do up front as a result of that, I think would be really.
What about you?
It's a hard question. I see an obvious one coming out of Broncos country here with Wayne King saying bring back Von Miller. We've seen him do a ton of fun things this season. Unfortunately, with that injury, hoping it's not too serious. They did say it wasn't an ACL tear. So I'm hoping he's healed up and ready to be quick. So if it was by the production of what Von Miller has done this season, it has been fun to watch. I was thinking, I don't know, maybe some TJ Watt action. But it's hard to say. I miss Bryce Callahan. I think we could use it. And you're talking about who's the most fun addition. And I'm over here wow, we could really use some plug and play pieces. Zach.
We do have some questions from the Discord. I'm noticing now.
Can I answer Joey's question of the day?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
You're the asker, Joey.
I think this is the easiest answer. Bring back Vic Fangio.
That counts. that 100.
How does that count? I'm not protecting him. I said this is more fun.
Ding.
That's a ding. To the judge.
How?
Bree.
How?
Because I gave you a
You're
freebie
saying you would
yesterday,
like to
and I'm
bring him
not
back
having it.
over Evero. That's 100%.
No, he could be a DB coach. I want the.
Should he be?
Or no, I want him as defensive coordinator.
That's a ding.
But
That's a ding.
we
Bree,
can,
can I get a
no
ding?
ding. I
Bree,
enjoyed his press
Looking for a
conferences
ruling here.
a lot. His press conferences were amazing. I mean, if there was a person,
This
there will
is
not
Fangio
ever
defense.
be.
Fangio
How is
defense.
this
This is
defense?
Fangio hype. That's a ding, Bree.
Ding.
All right,
Thank
anyways,
you.
keep going.
Thank you.
Thank
To
you.
new
Your
listeners
part.
who just saw that bizarre debate, we have a bet that Joey will defend Fangio a certain number of times during the season.
That got to be over. I don't know.
You're absolutely over. Even
He's
with the
not.
freebie
He's
that I
doing
gave you.
great. He's at like 3, maybe 4.
What did we give him?
Very few. We've been stingy on it. That one's like, I think probably just his third one, and Denver's defense is falling off the shelf. So I think Joey's going to win that bet. I'm not feeling good about my odds. I think he can get away with a lot more Fangio defenses if he wants.
Did you give him like 10? How many opportunities did
It
you give
wasn't a number. It's that however many times he defends Vic
touchdowns the
Fangio-
Broncos score have to be
No,
more?
that would have probably been closer. But however many times he defends Vic Fangio, the number associated with the Broncos' defensive rank will be lesser than that. So in other words, if he defends Fangio 6 times, the Broncos have to have a top 5 defense. He's defended him like 3 times, so the Broncos would have to have a top 2 defense. They rank like 6th right now in DVOA.
Oh
Okay.
Christ! I still
It'll
don't
be
have a
more
really good
fun.
answer. I don't think I have a really fun one. I don't know what to tell you guys. I like the defense as it stands. I think they lost a couple of pieces I would have wanted to retain, but I don't think there's anyone out there that would really come in and fix anything. But if for funness sake, I mean, I know everyone seems to miss Von Miller, so I think that's a good answer. It's a good one to pander to the rest of Broncos country. Everyone.
Ooh, Discord questions.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. If the Broncos decide to ditch Broncos Country Let's Ride as the team motto for next season, what would you suggest as a replacement? That comes from D. Burns.
I haven't thought about this.
I miss United in orange just because it made me feel something. But like, Let's Ride is an absolute. What is that thing that's floating through the air? A blimp? A blimp fire?
It does.
Disaster.
And this is the reason why this is my.
Hindenburg?
I think the Broncos need to kill these little slogans until we have a good football team.
I disagree.
Kill them. We need to stop it. I don't like them anymore. The Let's Ride was never fun. It was never fun. The ride was never good. I never liked the ride.
Let's Ride was always bad. Let's Ride was always bad, but I've got it. Ready?
Okay, what is it? Yeah.
Grab your pitchforks, light your torches. Broncos 2023.
That sounds like
We're going to
something's actually going down. That's terrifying.
Something should.
We're just going.
This is worse than Frankenstein's monster. And you saw how those townspeople reacted.
I mean, it sounds like you're trying to stage something in the later beginning months of the year. I don't like it. I'm scared.
I'm going to start getting. Never mind.
Yeah, I know where you're going. We're not going there. I knew exactly where you were going with that.
The next question.
I know you too well. All right.
I will kick you out of
Well,
your
I hope enough of the audience knew too. I didn't say a word, but I hope everyone knows.
Quit touching the stove, Zach. Go.
Is Gregory coming back, or is he just another Peyton miss?
Oh.
Just another one. The word choice, very specific there. Is Gregory coming back? I hope so. I think on the field, you can't deny Gregory as a player. He's been phenomenal through every time he's gotten a chance to go out there. He's been a really, really good pass rusher, and he's just a really good player when he's out there. I don't know if he's coming back. I mean, it sounds like at this point, guys, if I'm being honest with you, I don't think the Broncos are going anywhere this year. I would shut him down. That's just my take. I would shut him down. You have him locked up for the future. You don't want to risk any of that already if he's injury prone. Let's see what happens with the fully healthy offseason because he didn't even really get that this year. I would shut him down.
Yeah, I think it's sorry, I just saw an update. Dolphins Chargers is what took the Broncos Chiefs place. Love it. That's a much more fun game. Dolphins Chargers sounds like a good time. Unlike Broncos Chiefs, that sounds like a massacre.
Can I be a Dolphins fan now? Is it appropriate?
I'd approve of it.
Love Mike McDaniel.
But yeah,
LTB.
Sorry, on the Randy Gregory thing, I think him coming back is going to be, I don't know, I wouldn't call him a Peyton miss right now because I know there's the whole like Von Miller, Randy Gregory debate, and I think it's a warranted debate, but I don't think we have a clear answer right now. Like Gregory was really productive when he was on the field, is going to miss a good chunk of time with injury. Von Miller was really productive when he was on the field, is going to miss a good chunk of time with injury. Miller's a little more expensive. I don't think there's like a definitive, this way was right, that way was right. And I really think the only reason to play Randy Gregory the rest of this season, to Joey's point, is to try and win the Randy Gregory Von Miller debate. And I'd hope George Payton is in that vein. Like, shut him down. It'll make the signing look a little worse. But I don't care or not, if I'm being real right now. Like, shut him down, get him ready for 2023, because this season's cooked. Even though, like, Randy Gregory would be, like, I think a little light at the end of the tunnel. Like, just something fun to watch on Sundays. On that level,
I think on the field, like, where would you rank him amongst Broncos defenders when he's on the field? It's probably like two or three. Like that's the type of play we're dealing with on a defense that's been phenomenal outside of pretty much last week. Like last week was not very good at all, but they've been a pretty good, really good defense for a while. So I think Randy Gregory's, like, when he's on the field, he's good. We just need him to stay on the field. And that, I won't lie, like, it's been a trend throughout his career that he has not been on the field very much. I just really hope that he can, because he is a really fun player. And I love the person too. Randy Gregory is such a person to root for. I love it. He's one of my favorite people on the Broncos. So I hope that he's back.
And Randy Gregory is 30. Von Miller is 33 for the questions in the chat.
I'm just taking a deep breath there. I don't have anything to add to that conversation. Zach, any more questions in the Discord?
Not that I saw. Maybe some people in the Discord will be mad at me for missing a question. I'm looking. I'm pretty sure there's nothing else here.
Great. If you're in the chat over here interacting with us on YouTube or Facebook, we can drop the link. Yes.
There is one. Sorry. Almost overlooked Cal. How humiliating will losing to a really, really bad Rams team be? I'm not certain they're going to lose that game yet. I think that's one they might actually win just because the Rams are similarly terrible, especially because they might be shutting Matt Stafford down for the year. But, man, you just got sliced up by Sam Darnold and the Panthers. I don't think I'm going to pick the Broncos again for the rest of the year. If they do lose that game, it'll be pretty embarrassing, mainly because I think a top 2, maybe top 3 pick is going to the Seahawks, and the Rams loss would help aid that.
Yeah. I mean, it would be pretty embarrassing. I won't lie. It would be really, like, I mean, I don't know if it can get worse than this Carolina one, but it would be pretty bad. Like, it would be up there, you know, it'd be up in the rafters for the year of embarrassing moments. So
they barely beat the Texans. I'm not picking the Broncos the rest of the season. I don't care if it's against a bad Rams or Cardinals team. It's 3-14 for the rest of the season for me. We'll obviously break that down every week as we get closer to each upcoming game, just like we will be doing this week as we approach the Ravens. Broncos are in Baltimore on Sunday. Guys, where can everybody find your stuff? Everybody,
follow me at JR Drafts. I've been really active on Twitter recently, so make sure you're following all my stuff there. For apparently now CU updates, from what I've been told today. Like a lot of Broncos content. I'm watching wide receivers in the college film right after I get off of here to prep for Frankie and I's show this Thursday. We're going to be talking wide receivers. So make sure you're tuning into that. And then, yeah, that's all I really have, guys.
Must listen. Must.
Absolute must. Oh, and that will only be Let's Talk Broncos exclusive. So if you're listening to this through Mile High Sports right now, make sure you're following the Let's Talk Broncos Facebook page, and that's where you will be able to find that content. Of course, the Let's Talk Broncos
Or
YouTube,
YouTube.
Let's Talk Broncos Twitter works as well. But interact with us. So I highly encourage the YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, those draft shows have been awesome. Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about those wide receivers. Big position of need for the Broncos and a fun one. Like you did offensive line. I know you guys love offensive line. I know it's the bigger need for the Broncos, but let's get some fun in there. Let's talk some wide receivers. So
Totally.
Definitely excited to hear that one and read more of your draft content, all that good stuff. What do I have to promote? Articles every single day over at Mile High Sports. There's going to be a ton this week because I am filling in and going to every presser and every practice. Watch me try and find notes and takeaways from every Broncos practice. How Cody does it, I don't know. That man, credit to him, because I watch practice and I'm like, this is what are we learning here? But go over to Mile High Sports, check that out. It's going to be doubling up on articles, I think, for this week. Podcast here every single day. And I think that'll do it.
You can find me every single Monday on the Fan Cave for Mile High Sports Radio. Zach Seegers tends to join me. JR Draft's just on there. If you'd like to catch the last episode by Zach, you can go ahead and find it over on Twitter. Breemace is 303. You can also catch me every single day here with the Let's Talk Broncos crew. No, it's too late, Zach. The show is over. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.